Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for your time and joining us today. I truly appreciate your presence. We have a wonderful and insightful session lined up for you today. And before we begin, it's my pleasure to introduce our honorable speaker for today. Meet our guide, Dr. Parul Kole. She is a dermatologist and a dermatosurgeon with over 20 years of experience specializing in cosmetic treatments. She completed her MBBS from Government Medical College, Amritsar, and her diploma in dermatology and venereology from Balabhai Nanavati Hospital, Mumbai. She has presented papers in national conferences, conducted workshops on Botox, fillers, and dermatosurgery, and collaborated with Glenmark for talks on platforms like Big F, FM, addressing common skin and hair concerns and the importance of sunscreen. So, I hope with the flyers and all the information, we are well aware what we are going to talk about today. The smart summer skincare. We should stop guessing and start glowing right away. Breakouts, tanning, and dryness sound familiar. And then comes the confusion like the products, sunscreen, serums, hydration, so many choices. Yet somehow nothing feels straight, nothing aligns with our skin concerns, and a lot of speculations and so much of suggestions from everyone like try this product and that product, so many choices, and we still keep wondering like why isn't the skin glowing and why it's still so dull and dry and why isn't it getting better. So here's the truth: your skin is not complicated, it's just misunderstood. We have all been there, standing in front of a mirror, noticing a breakout, an uneven tan in the summer, and dullness creeping in. And what do we do then? We just react. And it's at times we feel helpless as well. So we overcleanse, we apply, we overthink, but skincare, it's not about reacting, it's about aligning the right method to your to the right products. So it's not that our skin is not constantly communicating with us, the oiliness, the dryness, or the breakouts, or the sudden glow, even the sudden glow. Let's change our approach today in this wonderful session and a smarter approach to the skincare. So, all to Dr. Parul now. I won't take much of the time, and Dr. Parul, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that introduction, Fizana. Extending a very warm welcome to all of you, and so glad to have such wonderful participation here on this platform today. So, today I'm going to help you understand how your lifestyle is affecting you, your skin health, how to look after your skin in the summer, and simplify your skin care. As Fizina said, we need to identify our mistakes, avoid overcomplicated skincare routines, and build lasting, sustainable habits that are going to last you a lifetime. So, welcome to Smart Summer Skincare. But before I start, I do want to say that I don't want this to be a lecture. I want this to be an interactive session. So it's going to be much more fun and more lively if we all participate actively. And we've got a lot of activities, lot of exciting question and answer things lined up today in this webinar. So please remember, however, people, that there are no right or wrong answers. So, Mansi, let's get going with Smart Summer Skincare. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Most of my patients come to my clinic and they're all saying these sort of things, that they bought products because their favorite influencer was buying them, or they tried something new because their friend said it worked for them. They change products every couple of weeks and your skin's great for 1 week, but then it's back to being bad. I often joke with my patients when they talk like this. I tell them, it doesn't sound like your skincare. It sounds like you're describing your dating app. This is like some Hinge or Tinder kind of thing, that you're not in a committed relationship with your skincare products. You see something new and you're swiping right, or you're bored and you change after 2 weeks. You have good dates and bad dates, just like you have good skin and bad skin days. That's not the way we want to be, right? So, Mansi, let's get on with our icebreaker. I want to know what's your skin reality, people. Please put down in the chat box. Tell me which one of these is bothering you the most. Are you riddled with acne? Is pigmentation your problem? Are you facing oily skin at 3 p.m.? Or is it that it feels tight and dry all the time? You can write your answers in the chat box, whatever is bothering you the most. Sensitive skin also is, yeah. So I see people coming in with dryness, acne, oiliness, very, very common in people who spending 8 to 10 hours in corporate life. Yeah. So all of these, I see all of these coming up. So I think it's safe to say that these five are the top five skin problems that we see. Let me know if you've changed products also and battled these problems not efficiently enough, and you're still looking for the right answers. Is that right? Mansi, let's move on to the next slide and tell me. I want you guys to understand a little bit. So if you're facing acne, I want you to know that it's not just women, premenstrually, it's men as well. And it's stress or your hormones that are causing this. Whenever you're stressed, there is a hormone called cortisol, and I'm sure we all know that. That causes your skin to start producing too much of sebum and leads to acne. Your AC also might be a silent killer that's causing dehydration. Sweat and pollution that we tend to ignore cause clogged pores, blackheads, and whiteheads. Screen time. Yes, this is a big factor for pigmentation, especially in Indian skin. We tend to believe incorrectly that sun is the only thing that causes pigmentation. I will touch more on this later when I talk about sunscreens, but suffice for you to know that you can get tanned and you can get pigmentation just as easily from your screen or your gadget as you can from being outdoors. So, if we have so many skin problems, you might be having more than one of these. It's very possible that you could have both acne as well as dry skin together. So, if you have, say, three or four problems, does that mean you would use three or four products? Mansi, let's see if doing more is better. So does this affect? Tell me this. You've already mentioned people you're all having stress. You're all having troubles with the AC causing drying, sweating, screen time. But moving on from here, does that mean that if you have three or four problems, would you use three or four solutions for these? More products is not better skin. We tend to think so because we've been deluded into believing so. Your skin barrier, frankly, gets overloaded and products start canceling each other out. To make you understand, for example, if you have acne and you start on an acne cream, these creams take typically 2 to 3 weeks for your skin to settle into. Now, during that time, your skin will have a little bit of irritation and redness. If you don't know that and you start with a second product to soothe the skin, and that product happens to have some steroid to bring redness down, that soothing factor could increase your acne. So you would be using two conflicting products, one which is increasing your acne and the other which is trying to decrease it. And you would land up in a zero sum game where you'd get nowhere. You wouldn't even understand what's working and what's not. So, moving on, tell me, people, I want to hear from you. How many skincare products do you use in a day? Are we using two, three, four, five? Please keep your answers, put your answers down in the chat box. I'd like to see how many products. Count and tell me how many do you use? Do you use a sunscreen, moisturizer, face wash? Do you use some serums, two or three products at night? Let's make it simpler. Next slide, Mansi. We'll give you options. Are you using two to three products? Four to five? If you're using more than six, you're definitely overdoing it. The ideal number should be two to three, but in this category, I'd also want inputs from people who say that they use less. There are patients who come into my clinic and they'll say, "Oh, I just use soap on my skin and that's it." That's also wrong. It's underplaying it. So, if you're just using soap and you're going to break down your skin barrier and not replenish it with the right moisturizer and sunscreen, you're not doing your skin a favor either. Underdoing it is as bad as overkill. We'll see this very clearly in the next slide. Please tell me, people, if you can relate to this. See this and tell me if you can spot the overkill. Would you really do this daily? But that's what your typical influencer or your person on Insta is telling you, isn't it? You see a famous starlet or a famous influencer coming on and saying, oh, I apply cleanser and then I put toner and then I use this essence and I use that brand and that Korean product and vitamin C, retinol, niacinamide. There'll be like a whole 1 hour routine that they will enlist. Do we all need this? Doesn't this look like it's overkill to you? Out of this, I'd seriously say that cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen, these are the foundation, these are the pillars. So that brings us to a three-step routine. If you're just doing cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen, those are the main foundation of your skincare. Any other active ingredients should ideally be prescribed by a dermatologist after checking your skin and targeting whatever particular problems you have or what you want to correct about it. And that too, not more than one or two at a time. Yeah, so I do see some of you writing in that you're using all of this, the toner, serum, everything. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to highlight, that this is overkill. Uh, so we can divide this three-step routine into an AM and PM routine for simplicity. What should you be doing in the morning? I know that it's not possible for anyone to have a midday routine. AM and PM is of course what we'll target. If you're at work 8 to 10 hours, you're not gonna get up in lunch break and redo the whole thing, wash your face, reapply everything. That's not gonna happen. So in the morning, if you do a good cleansing with the correct cleanser that removes the right amount of oil and doesn't overly break down your skin barrier, then use a moisturizer that hydrates and protects, and then use a good sunscreen that protects you from your screen as well as outdoor travel. You're pretty much set. Ladies, you can use any sort of cosmetics that you want on top of this. At night, cleansing again is a must, and that's not just for removing your makeup. It's as important for the men as well to remove all the dirt, pollution, and traces of your daytime routine. Then put your active ingredient if you need it. This could be a acne cream, retinol for aging, or a depigmenting product for your dark spots or melasma. And then, last of all, a really good moisturizer that locks it all in and repairs your skin while you sleep. That brings us to our next activity, people. So, the next activity, people, let's build your routine. Which step are you most likely to skip? I want to hear from you. Is there anything out of these three, at least basic building blocks, that you guys are not doing? Is there somebody here who just uses a cleanser and moisturizer and doesn't use sunscreen? Or just uses sunscreen, omitting to use moisturizer? So I see people skipping cleanser. So yes, you can use micellar water for cleansing, but there are micellar water is it's a specific oil and water combination that is used to remove makeup. When we talk cleanser, we also want the cleanser to remove traces of old oil that's naturally produced by your skin's oil glands, to remove all the dirt and dust and even the dead cells that your skin accumulates over time. So, a proper cleanser would be like a face wash, which doesn't strip your skin of too much essential oils, at the same time, removes a sufficient amount of dead skin, oil, and grime from your skin. I see some of you use cleanser and then moisturizer and sunscreen, which is like full marks to you. Like that's a perfect kind of combination that you're doing. Do any of these sound familiar to you? Look at the statements on the left, the ones in red. Have you ever said things like, my skin is oily and so it's hydrated enough, I don't need moisturizer, or if I wash more, I'll stay clean, or sweat is fine, it'll dry, I'm indoors, I don't need sunscreen? If that sounds familiar, you're not the only ones. A lot of patients come to my clinic, and a lot of people have confusions or wrong concepts about skin like this. So, oil and water, let's talk about these two things. What's moisture and what's oil? I think there's a lot of confusion about that. Um, so your skin has moisture, which means the lower layers of skin actually contain water. And then there is something called TEWL, which is transepidermal water loss, which means your skin will continue to lose this water to the atmosphere if there wasn't a layer of oil. this layer of oil works like an occluding layer and kind of locks in that moisture into your skin. This oil is produced by your natural oil glands. It's not just the locking layer. This is an active layer that is your skin's first defense system against bacteria, against the environmental pollution, against dirt and dust. So your skin requires the right amount of water in it and the right amount of oil. If your skin is too dry, if you haven't had enough water or you've lost too much water through the skin, then your skin can be dehydrated and yet oily because your oil glands are still working and making that layer. So, yes, your oily skin can still be dehydrated. The other hand, if you keep washing your skin every 2 hours and wash it 5 or 6 times, your skin's natural oil barrier takes about 8 to 12 hours to replenish itself. So, if you washed every 2 to 3 hours, your skin would not have this barrier, which is essential to protect us from germs and environmental pollutants. Now, I want to briefly touch on my favorite topic, which is sunscreen. So, sunscreen is not an option in the Indian scenario. You know, I see that a lot of you have queries about sunscreens, that there are many sunscreens in the market, and we want something. You're basically confused about which ones to use, right? And I'm very, very pleased to see that you're aware that UVA, UVB, and blue light are different things. So, sunscreens are basically of three different types. In the next slide, we'll see what are physical sunscreens. So basically, I categorize them as physical, chemical, and hybrid sunscreens. Physical sunscreens are the ones that contain minerals. They contain zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, chemicals like that. These are really good for sensitive skins. And because they form a physical barrier, they kind of protect you from all sorts of radiation. So if you're looking for something which would protect you from both indoors and outdoor exposure, then this would be it. These don't react with the sun with light. They simply reflect light. So it's best for people who have sensitive skins. If you find that you've used 3, 4 sunscreens in the past and you've had allergic reactions, then I'd suggest stay with a physical sunscreen. I've included some examples of some brands here in this slide, but by no means is this exhaustive. There are many, many other brands. All you have to look for is that they have a good SPF value, a good PA plus value, which is UVA protection, and they have ingredients like zinc or titanium dioxide. The next slide is about basically chemical sunscreens, and like I said, these have ingredients like avobenzone and octinoxate. They may be cosmetically very elegant, they don't leave any white cast, but they are more prone to cause reactions in the skin because they chemically react with your skin and with the sunlight. So if you again have sensitive skins, you might want to avoid these. Or if you found that you reacted to your sunscreen, you might want to look at the back in the ingredients and see if any one of those ingredients are present. If they are, then that might be the culprit. Again, there's some examples that I've given here. I see someone has a question that they use face wash, that they've heard that face wash alone doesn't remove sunscreen completely. It depends really on the type of face wash, which is why I emphasize the cleanser part of it. Um, you don't need to double cleanse it. What I say is that if after washing twice, if your skin feels squeaky clean, then you've overdone it. Then it's too much of cleansing and you've completely destroyed your protective barrier. If at the end of it, you can't feel the product on your skin, but it doesn't feel too dry, that's just about it. So, gentle cleansers, like Cetaphil has a bright, healthy cleanser, or Neutrogena has some cleansers. These are mild, neutral cleansers, and usually one wash is enough. If you have an excessively oily skin, and we will come to skin typing later, you can then use a wash that is specifically targeted at oily skin, and that in one wash will remove the excess oil. So there are hybrid sunscreens, as I mentioned, and these have the best of both worlds. These more and more companies are coming out with these. In the next slide, we have formulations and what you should pick based on your skin type. Gels do really well for oily skin. They give it a very matte feeling. Creams and lotions do well for dry skin, and you can use sprays or lotions for combination skins. Like I mentioned earlier, look for the PA value as well. Don't just blindly go by SPF. The PA value is your UVA protection value, which actually protects you from a tan. And for Indian skin conditions, for Indian weather conditions, we recommend a PA of at least 4 plus. Your sunscreen may alternatively have a star rating instead of this PA plus plus plus. The number of stars is equivalent to the number of pluses. It's exactly the same. If you know that your skin is oily or dry or combination, then only can we choose the right type of sunscreen. So how do we know our skin type? Oily skins are oily, shiny, greasy within as less as an hour or two of washing. Combination skins have certain zones like a T zone, a forehead, nose, and chin that would get oilier faster, or a V zone that is your cheeks and your chin are getting oilier faster. Dry skin starts to feel dry and tight, flaky, stretched, pulled, just in as less as 30 to 60 minutes. So, in order, if you don't know your skin type, the next slide will very well tell you how to calculate that. You simply use a mild cleanser. In the next slide, Mansi, we have the test for skin type. Yes, just use a mild cleanser. After washing, don't apply anything. Just wait 30 to 60 minutes and observe. If your face is oily and shiny after an hour, that means you're producing oil pretty fast. You have an oily skin. If it's feeling tight, then you have dry skin. And you can pay attention to if certain parts of your face feel oilier than others. I see that someone has questions about how many times to apply sunscreen. Well, again, this depends. Like I said, I could go on about sunscreens all day. It's my favorite topic. Sunscreen has something called a half life. So, in about 2 hours, it breaks down to 50% of what it promises you on the cover. So, let's say we have a sunscreen that's offering you an SPF of 40. In 2 hours, you're left with 20, and in 4 hours, you're left with just 10. So, if you're using a sunscreen of SPF 40, you would have to reapply in at least 4 hours. Whereas nowadays, companies have bypassed that. They've come out with sunscreens with as high as an SPF of 100. So, if you've applied that, in about 2 hours, you're left with an SPF of 50. In 4 hours, you're left with 25. And in about 8 hours, finally, you're left with an SPF of 10 or lesser. So the higher you're starting with, the more number of hours you can go without reapplying. A lot also depends on how much of water exposure you're going to have. So the moment you are in water, say exposed on a beach or let's say you're going swimming, you ideally should reapply in 80 minutes. Sunscreens are also consumable, by the way. So if you're outdoors in brighter sunlight and you don't have a cap or a scarf to protect you, you'll blow through your sunscreen much faster. Yes, how to remove tanning. Yes, I'll try to briefly touch on that as well. Yeah, we have questions about if all the face feels normal and your nose becomes oily. Yes, that's a combination type. After another hour, if you notice that your forehead or your chin's getting oily, that is a T-zone oil production. We also have centrofacial oiliness, which is only the nose and the center part of the cheek becoming oily. That is combination skin, yes. Yes, cleansers for dry skin. Yeah, so try to go for face washes that are soap free. You will find that written quite clearly nowadays. There are brands like Cetaphil or brands like Elugia or a lot of brands which have soap-free cleansers, completely soap-free cleansers, which can even work on dry, allergic types of skin, very sensitive skin that breaks out with any kind of soap-based cleansers will do very well with Cetaphil cleansers. Yes. So moving on. And that brings us to one of the really fun activities. I want you all ready. on your laptops, on your keyboards. We're going to do an activity called red flag versus green flag. And if you've heard all the gyan that I've been spewing about oil and moisturizer and sunscreen in the last half an hour, you guys will breeze through this activity. Unlike Squid Games, in which red light and green light game got you shot for choosing the wrong answer, there are no wrong answers here. I just want all of you to participate and I want to see what you think. So let's go to the first one. My skin feels oily, so I skip moisturizer. What would you call this? Let's see the answers. Is that a red flag or a green flag? Very good. Let's go. Yeah, a lot of people are replying red. Yes, that's absolutely right. As we discussed earlier, moisture and oil are two very different things. So even if it feels oily, it still needs water, which is given by moisturizer. Next one, please. I only apply sunscreen when I step out. Oh, come on, all of you should get this. Is that a red flag or a green flag? All right. Okay, I think, yeah. So I think a lot of people are getting this right for, yeah, so you have to apply sunscreen even when you're indoors. Sunscreen even when it's cloudy weather, sunscreen even when it's raining outside. So the sunscreen is not protecting you just from the sun, but your screen as well. Remember that. Next one, please. I use blotting paper instead of washing my face again in the middle of the day. What would you say, people? Let's see the answer, Mansi. Green, yes, that's absolutely right. So you don't have to keep breaking down your skin barrier. Like we discussed, the skin barrier takes 8 to 12 hours to regenerate after one face wash. So if it feels oily, just dab off the excess oil with a tissue or a single ply wipe. You can just do that. You don't need to scrub, you don't need to wash, you don't need to strip it every 2 to 3 hours or every 4 hours. You don't need that. I give a product at least 3 to 4 weeks before judging results. What do you say to that, people? I am so pleased with all of you. You're killing it. Green flag. Yes, absolutely. Give it time. Let your skin accept it. Let it settle in and form a relationship with your skin. Next one, please, Mansi. I avoid moisturizer. Oh, well, it's circling back to the same thing. I'm sure everyone knows this. You have to use moisturizer in summer. Red flag, yes, you have to. Because as we discussed, water and oil are two different things. What we can do is choose a moisturizer in summer that has a higher water content than oil content, and vice versa in winter. Go for more oil over water. That's about the differentiation that you do. But that doesn't mean that you completely stop moisturizer in summer. Your skin definitely needs that water. So keep reaching out for that bottle of water to drink as well as that bottle of moisturizer, both. I sit in an AC all day, so my skin doesn't need hydration. Yes, red, red, red. Your AC is your biggest drainer of moisture from your skin. A lot of offices now have even started installing humidifiers because they realize that their employees develop more and more irritation and blotchy and patchy skin because of sitting in an AC all day long. I rinsed my face with just water midday instead of cleanser. Yes, green. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So I think we've cleared a lot of misconceptions here. I increase actives like exfoliation. So would you like take a dull skin and flog it more? Is that a red or a green flag? Lovely. Yes. Red flag. Stop killing your skin when it's dull. It's begging for tender loving care. It's not begging for more torture. Let's go on. Yeah, so I think this is going to be something that everyone faces. Stress is something that affects every system of our body. If we talk about any disease nowadays, every doctor will tell you that there is an underlying factor of stress. So why not with skin? Your skin is talking to you when it's telling you that it's dry, when it has a breakout. Um, Even lack of sleep, or if you've been traveling and shifting time zones, that could be the culprit that your skin is not it's not up to its usual glowing self. So if you're looking dull, answer those questions first. Let's reflect, let's introspect. I want all of you to start telling me, Come on, answers in the chat box. When do your breakouts or dull skin moments happen? Does it happen just before a big deadline is due, or if you haven't slept well in a couple of days, if you've been traveling like crazy, or if you had a fight with your boyfriend slash girlfriend slash spouse? Emotional stress is a big factor. Yes, I'm seeing yes, poor sleep. I'm seeing traveling. I'm seeing a lot of people say multiple reasons. You've got it right. You've got it right. All of the above. So, all of these things are going to affect your skin. So, what I'm going to do now is, since all of you are really killing it on the answers, I am going to turn the tables and make you guys the doctor. I'm going to give you scenarios and you will prescribe what is the right remedy for these. Let's go to the scenarios. Case 1. Tell me, people, if a patient comes to you and says that he's been sitting in back to back meetings all day in the AC, stressed, sweaty, and the skin's feeling greasy, tired, and uncomfortable, which one of these would you pick? Would you ask him to wash the face 3 or 4 times? Would you say ignore it? Would you say gently cleanse once? Let's see the answers. Okay, okay. So let's go to the answer. Let's see what there we go. Overwashing is going to make things worse. A gentle cleanse will reset the skin without damage. Just wash and put a light layer of moisturizer. Maybe drink a little water. Maybe pay attention to hydration, right? You cannot ignore dirt and sweat on your skin. It will cause blackheads, it will block your pores, it will cause irritation because of the salt present in your sweat. Let's go to the next case. Okay, so let's say you've been doing skincare regularly, but you've been too tired and you skipped your care a few nights, and now your skin's suddenly looking dull. What would you do? Would you like go out there and buy 5 or 6 products, ask your neighbor, ask your best friend, buy a new product, fix it quickly, or this product promises me results in 24 hours, let me try this, or just go back to your simple routine? A, B, or C? Oh, wow, a unanimously correct answer. I think you guys are much better doctors than you realize. Absolutely right. Go back to your simple routine. Consistency over new stuff any day. Your skin responds to regularity and discipline, not a barrage of new products every single time. I am so pleased. Let's go on to the next one, Mansi. Scenario 3. You wake up with a sudden breakout right before an important meeting and you want to fix it ASAP. What are you going to do? Apply multiple serums, stick to basic routine, keep your skin calm, or try a random new quick sit product? B. Absolutely right, guys. Stick to basic routine, keep your skin calm. So I guess what we now need to basically just figure out is how do we put this in a nutshell? You've all got the basics right. We just need to do a quick reset. So I'm sure you guys have attended workshops in corporate life where they tell you where you're you'll have counselors coming in and telling you how to beat anxiety. You've got butterflies in your stomach before an important meeting. What are you going to do? How do you reset your brain in 2 minutes? You do deep breathing, you chant a mantra, you take a sip of water, and that just does the trick. The same way you can reset your skin. This is the 2 minute micro reset. Just splash water on your face. The more chilled the better. If you have access to ice, that's even better. It cools down inflammation in your skin and removes the surface irritation of sweat immediately. Take a few deep breaths. Yes, a calm mind is a calm skin. Reduce your cortisol levels. Gently pat dry. And I would just add to this slide that maybe add a little layer of moisturizer, dab on a little bit on areas that are feeling dry. And that's literally all you need. How do we make a sustainable habit out of skincare? Right? We should have a toolkit. So apart from this 2 minute rule that we just discussed, keep your skin routines simple. The simpler it is, the more likely that you will do it. If I give you a prescription full of 10 things, you might do it for a week or two. And after that, it'll just become too much. And then you'll throw the whole thing down the toilet. So it's better that you start very realistically with a short routine, like maybe just a minute or two, a quick cleanse, one serum and a moisturizer at night, and keep doing it. The second thing I really advocate is habit anchoring. Have your skincare tied to a habit that you normally would do, like maybe apply your sunscreen immediately after you've washed or brushed your teeth. At night you could apply your serum at night after you've brushed your teeth. We could also do weekly resets. I really keep a lot of stock by these. Every couple of weeks, every fortnight rather, review what's working for your skin and what's not. Don't keep switching randomly. Don't just like every week say, okay, I want to switch this serum A for B, B for C. That doesn't work. And less of experimenting. So, habit anchoring is something that I want to emphasize a little more on, because I feel in my practice, I've given it to a lot of patients and I find that really works in the long run. Instead of making these so called resolutions about I will do this and I will do that, attach it to something that you already do. So, like we just said, like if you're brushing your teeth, immediately apply sunscreen after that, wash your face and apply sunscreen. uh, After shower, use moisturizer all over your body. um, I have a patient who told me that, doc, when you told me habit anchoring, I have this thing at night that I sit in bed and I watch one episode of my favorite Netflix, and I've attached my skincare routine to that. So while I'm watching that 30-minute thing, my guilty pleasure before bed, I'm doing all my skincare during that time. So you could do that. Another thing you could do is have a skincare buddy, just like you have a gym buddy to make sure that you adhere to your workouts. I say make a pact with a best friend and say, okay, both of us are going to start this new skincare habit from tomorrow. We will both be accountable to each other if we've used our cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen. Just these three things, and we'll report to to each other every single day. That is such a great thing to do. Can we go move on to the next slide? Yeah. So habit anchoring. Tell me. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Which habit do you have? Like this patient of mine who had this Netflix addiction at night, and she anchored her skincare to that. Give me suggestions. What are you guys going to anchor your skincare habits to? Please write in the chat box. I'm waiting for your replies. Do you think you can remind yourself when you're eating breakfast that you need to apply sunscreen before heading out of the house? Think about that when we move on to the next slide. Here are some dermat truths. Okay. Your skincare cycle is 28 days. Your skin needs time to renew. It also, therefore, needs about 4 weeks to adapt to any new product that we start. Remember, results take consistency. So, discipline over multitudes any day. Instead of using 10 products for 2 weeks, it's better that you use two products for 10 weeks. No product works overnight. You have to give it time. Active ingredients sometimes don't even need to be used daily. Overuse can only cause irritation. Whenever you're using active products, and trust me, there's a lot of retinols and um, serums and vitamins out there. It's always best to consult a dermat and get a skin assessment done once. That will give you a really professional insight into what your skin needs. It's hard to even guess on your own. When dermats have instruments, we have stuff like skin gaugers to check your oil levels. We can check your skin for hydration. We can check whether it needs that hyaluronic acid, whether you really need that HA serum that you've been eyeing. Is your skin really having some aging or not? You just sometimes listen to your friends' problems and you kind of believe that those are your own as well. That's not true. Skin needs recovery days, and healing will happen when you don't overload it. At this point, I also want to emphasize the importance of a healthy diet, of healthy hydration, of exercise and sleep. You know, it's very easy to say eat well, sleep well, exercise well, but these are the cornerstones when it comes to having a healthy body and a healthy skin. The skin is simply the window into your internal milieu. If your body and mind are both healthy, your skin will reflect it. If you're depressed, anxious, worried, stressed out, your skin's going to show it. If your body is unhealthy from lack of exercise, a bad diet, lack of sleep, your skin's going to show it. And no amount of products can fix that. Let's go on to the most fun activity of all. So, this is going to be a rapid fire round, guys. I need you all to really get your fingers on the trigger. We're going to do a fast myth versus truth. Let's start, Mansi. Washing your face more can actually make it oilier. Myth or truth? Tell me, everyone. Let's have the answer. Yes, overwashing will push your skin into a reaction. The skin will feel that oils are being stripped and it'll produce more and more and more to compensate. Next one. If a product suits your friend, it'll suit you too. Is that a myth or truth? Myth, of course. Yes, yes, yes. I am seeing an overwhelming, yeah. So everything is different. Your different bodies, your skin type is different, the environment you're both in is different, your barrier conditions are different. You cannot share products. Let's go to the next one. Natural organic products are always safer. Myth or truth? Let's see the answer. Some are saying truth, some are saying myth. There's a bit, yes, there is wiggle room here, but natural organic products are not always safer. Let's see the next slide, Mansi. You should exfoliate daily for glowing skin. Daily? What did we talk about? Flogging a dead horse. Correct, that's a myth. You don't need to exfoliate daily. If you keep removing skin cells every day, remember your skin cycle is 28 days. You'll be stripping it raw in a couple of days and then you'll be like, why is my skin on fire? Even when I splash water, it feels sensitive. You need to exfoliate at the most once or at the most twice a week. Let's go to the next one. Touching your face repeatedly can cause breakouts more than your diet. So, would you blame that chocolate you had, or would you blame the fact that you sit like this when you're in front of your laptop? What's the bigger culprit? Touching your face causes breakouts, myth or truth? Yes, that is the truth. Because bacteria are on your hands and you're touching your hands everywhere, collecting them all day. And the moment you do that, you're putting them on your face where your oil glands are secreting oil that's food for the bacteria. So they're going to happily land on your skin and make their home there. Do not touch your face as far as you can avoid it. The next one. Sometimes doing less skincare improves your skin faster. I think if any of us have been listening in the last 45 minutes, we all will get the answer right to this one. Whereas skin is concerned, less is more. Bang on, guys. That was very much the truth. Doing less skincare improves your skin faster sometimes, especially when it's irritated, red. Let's go to the next slide. So, I want you here to take a minute to consolidate and think about all that we've learned today. We've had a very interactive session. You've been a wonderful, wonderful interactive audience. I want you to think about what your skincare resolution is today. Put it in the chat box. I want to see them. I want to read this. So, even if we take back one changed habit today, one small permanent change that we do and follow it for the rest of our lives, it would have made this a resounding success. It could be something as small as I promise to apply sunscreen twice. Using cleanser, that's great. Being consistent with skincare instead of skipping days, that's fantastic. Reapplying sunscreen, taking proper sleep, oh, fantastic, fantastic. I so totally agree with that. Don't use more products. Yeah, so I see somebody having a question about dipping your face into a bowl of ice water. As I mentioned in the micro reset, ice is the best anti-inflammatory that you can use. So putting cold water or splashing chilled water on your face, or even using an ice gel pack, you can keep that in your refrigerator at work and just rub it for a minute on your face. It instantly reduces the inflammation level of skin that could have gone up with anxiety or even with the dryness of the AC air. That'll really help. It does help to just chill the temperature of your skin. Fixing sleep and diet. A lot of you are taking a holistic view of skin, and I'm so happy about that, that you really understood that skin reflects what's happening on the inside. Healthy food habits, being hydrated and stress free. So some really great answers coming in from all of you. And I'm just so glad that you're writing it, because if you write it, you will believe it and you will manifest it. It just becomes a lot more, consolidated. Um, we're going to take questions also. So if you guys have any questions, we're open to a Q&A. We do have a few minutes left in the session. Okay, how can we reduce open pores? Now, this is a little loaded question, because if your skin is producing too much oil, an open pore is nothing but your oil gland trying to dump that extra oil out. You might really need to balance the oil in your skin. That might need some actives prescribed by your dermatologist. No amount of toner is going to shrink your pores if your skin is too oily and trying to dump that oil out. I have a dark, dry patch below one eye. One of you is asking that would frankly be a medical diagnosis. I think you should, you should visit and have it assessed, because if it's just below one eye, it sounds like a medical condition. That's not something normal. A cleanser good for combination skin. Like I said, Neutrogena has some excellent face washes. Cetaphil cleanser. Yeah, Cetaphil has a cleanser called BHR, Bright Healthy Radiance Cleanser. That's excellent for combination skin. Again, skincare for acne on the arms. Yeah, so body acne is a different ball game altogether. For the arms, you may need to use benzoyl peroxide. This would be recommended by a dermat. For the arms, also, you may be confusing acne with another diagnosis, which is called keratosis pilaris, where your hair follicles are blocked. It's not just acne on your arms. Uh, Having said that, a good exfoliation once a week using a body scrub on your arms wouldn't help. It would also help, sorry. What is the reason for whiteheads? Somebody wants to know. Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that, because blackheads and whiteheads are very different things. Blackheads are when your oil producing glands are obstructed by their own secretion. If they're producing a sludgy oil, like which is like a liquid wax, and that hardens and dries in the duct of your gland, and you can see that as a black dot on your skin. Here, the opening of the gland is still patent, it's open. So, if you go for a medical cleanup or something, it would be very easy to remove. But when you leave a blackhead in for a long time, your skin grows over it and it turns white, and then it's a whitehead. It's a permanent closure. That needs professional cleansing. You cannot do that on your own or in a parlor. A cleanup wouldn't get rid of a whitehead. You would then need some acne, medicated acne products to get rid of those. People would say that drinking more water would give skin glow. Is that correct? Yes, up to the right level. So I'd say 2 to 3 liters of water a day would. But at this point, I'd also like to warn you about overdoing it. There is something called hyponatremia, which is that your body salts become too less because you've drunk too much water and diluted it. So if you're going to be drinking more than 2 liters of water, then ideally it should be an electrolyte which is balanced. So you should have electrol or coconut water in addition to water. Don't just go on guzzling 4 or 5 liters of water. You will cause dilution of your skin salts, and that could add on to your problems. Um, Dark patches below the eyes. In a lot of cases, it's simply overstrain because of too much of screen usage. So I'd suggest that you look at your screen habits. Are you taking a break from your screen? Are you using the right kind of under eye moisturizer? Are you applying or rather hydrating your under eye area well at night? Are you making sure that you massage the area to improve the blood flow? Do those simple things first. If you can, then even investing in anti glare coated glasses, if you're doing too much of screen work, sometimes helps. Poor nighttime sleep, but sleeping for 8 hours a day, of course, that's going to cause a lot of problems, not just under eye skin bags, because what you're doing is you're reversing your entire circadian rhythm. Your body secretes something called melatonin when it's exposed to darkness, and cortisol when it's exposed to light. I don't want to go into too many biological details of this, but your body is tuned, it is built to be awake in the daytime and sleeping at night. And if you're reversing this, you are obviously creating a huge strain. If that's the way your job requires you to be working night shifts, you might find that taking melatonin supplements at the end of your shift when it's time for you to sleep might help. Also, a good nighttime routine for your under eye area. Well, yes, glutathione is one of the best skincare supplements. However, there is a big, big rider to this. Glutathione is very poorly absorbed from your gut. So you'd have to really choose which supplement is right.
Yeah, ma'am. The thing is that what is the best option to reduce the acne on our skin, ma'am?
May I know your age?
It's 25.
Yeah, so what you have is still probably your pubertal acne, probably started in the late teens and 20s. So, if your acne is very, very pustular, if it is full of pus most of the times and painful, then you might need to consult a dermatologist professionally for antibiotics. Otherwise, you could first start with just using an over the counter acne wash. So again, Cetaphil has some very good oil control face washes that work great on acne. You could also start using a short contact therapy of an antibiotic cream that you could buy at your chemist. Clindamycin is great for that. Your chemist will give you a brand like Clindac. You could just apply that for 30 minutes at night on your acne and then just wash it off. Like I said, keep it simple. Just one thing, use it for a few weeks and keep using your moisturizer and sunscreen very, very well. All acne products make your skin more sun sensitive, so you must use sunscreen and moisturizer when you're using this clindamycin gel.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Anyone
Okay.
else?
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, ma'am, again, Nishra is there, so you can now speak with the ma'am.
Uh, which body wash is good for acne prone skin?
For acne prone skin, see, body acne, Nisha, behaves very differently from the face acne. So, on the body, if you're an adult and you're getting acne, you need to keep the skin pH at around a 5.5. In case you don't understand what pH is, it's the acid balance of your skin. So, bacteria will multiply more easily if your acid balance becomes higher than 5.5. And unfortunately, all soaps will make your skin pH high and encourage bacteria. So, if you're getting acne, don't use things like antibacterial washes. Use a body wash like Sebamed, which will give you a skin pH of 5.5. That will give your skin a chance to naturally beat the bacteria on its own. Okay, so look for the skin pH. Look for a skin pH balancing body wash, and I've given you an example of Sebamed. IV drips. Ah, okay. So that's a whole discussion by itself. If your blood parameters and your skin really demand it, then an IV drip can be make or break. It can be something that is the one factor that just lights up your skin. But having said that, it has to be very judiciously decided whether you really need it or not. and done in moderation. Again, there are people who come to my clinic and they will say, "Oh, give me 10 drips and I want to look good for my birthday next month and do this and do that." So again, with IV drips, just like with the rest of skincare, too much can be harmful. So you've got to know where to stop. It's not that if two is giving you a great glow, then four will give you 2x times that glow. It's not mathematical like that. So you should leave that decision to a qualified dermatologist, and not just try to walk in. I get quite scared by these places popping up nowadays who offer you IV drips, just like you would get threading done or facial. It's literally a little scary. Too much of it can be harmful. So yes, please consult a proper qualified dermatologist before you decide how many drips and why. See, melasma again it's a disease. I can't um we I couldn't give you brand names, that would be brand endorsement, but I could tell you what molecules to look for. If you have melasma, again, the cornerstone of treatment is sunscreen and sun protection, because melasma is very, very light sensitive. And the second thing, you could try using a cream that gives you kojic acid. You could try beginning with kojic acid. What really works for melasma is you're going to have to go in there into a clinic and do some chemical peels that take those damaged layers of skin off. You might even have to go for deeper treatments like laser to blast it out. Melasma is one of the hardest things to treat. And there is not just one thing that would be something that a dermatologist really makes a full routine for you and you'd have to follow it. What else did we have? Biotin supplements, right? Yeah, so biotin supplements again, there are blood tests that we do before we put a patient on supplements, and they tell us clearly whether you need it or not. It's far too easy to overdose on supplements, and the other extreme is equally bad. So if you have too much of a vitamin in your body, that would also damage you and cause pigmentation. Almost every day I have at least one patient in my clinic who comes to me with hypervitaminemia, that is excess levels of blood levels of vitamins, and that causes pigmentation and dry and irritated skin as well. So when we do the blood tests and when we figure out, oh my God, their B12 levels are through the roof because they've just been popping vitamins on their own, that's when I tell them that, look, you should do your blood levels before you take any vitamins, and you should take them under supervision, under medical supervision, not just on your own endlessly. Vitamin C is not needed for every type of skin. No, that's a myth. In fact, most vitamin C serums are absolutely useless because they don't even penetrate the skin. You'd be better off taking your vitamin C orally than applying it, frankly. Good glutathione supplements. Okay, so there are, you pick up good pharma companies like Cipla or Glenmark. You will inevitably get good products. I do recommend a lot of a brand um, called Glutessa in my clinic. I found excellent results with those. You will boost your glutathione results if you occasionally take, like once or twice a year, take an IV drip to boost the levels along. Because, like I said, oral glutathione, it's not absorbed too well from your gut. It's absorbed very, very less. How will post-acne dark spots go away? Again, chemical peels help a lot. So you could go to a skincare clinic and start some basic chemical peels. Um, Certain creams like niacinamide creams or serums also help with that, but go very gentle with niacinamide. If you're starting any new skincare serum, please use it maybe just 2 or 3 days a week to begin with. See how your skin settles into it, and then increase it to daily. Have we got everything? Have we missed anything?
So, ma'am, there's a last question regarding the multiple. Somebody is asking if it is okay to use multiple brands for each use, like cleansing, moisturizing, and sunscreen, and then we can wrap up
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, okay. So, multiple brands. So it's not necessary to be brand loyal here, but the more brands you have in your buffet of skincare, the more number of times you're going to have to test that product out. You get what I mean? So with every brand, you would have to first give it a 2 week window and use it, and then, okay, declare it that, okay, if I'm using this brand, this is suiting me. Even in our clinical practice, when I'm writing a prescription, my prescription might have 3 or 4 different brands if I'm writing 3 or 4 different products. But that's usually decided on the basis of your skin analysis. So if I see that you have, let's say, for example, you have a very acne prone skin, which is also very sensitive, then I would recommend a company that has an acne product targeted at sensitive skin so that you don't have to use 2 separate products. Do you get what I mean? So it would be quite specific, but yes, it's not necessary to be brand loyal. Right, Fazana, are we done?
As I can see, Ishwarya is asking question, something related to dark spots, I suppose.
Is this it? How to treat post-acne dark spots or hyperpigmentation? Which ones are we looking at? Ishwarya, okay, solution for dark spots. You haven't really mentioned where on the body we're looking. Body pigmentation is treated quite differently from facial pigmentation, but like I said, we use niacinamide if it's a post-acne pigmentation. We use molecules like kojic acid. We use arbutin. Um, Frankly, it's again something that if I actually check your skin, I can tell you better. I can tell you better because the reason behind the dark spot is equally important. So then I'd be treating that reason and not just the symptom of a dark spot. I think that was a very, very productive session, and such an active and interactive audience. Everyone had so many inputs. Everyone was so lively with their answers. So many questions. I can relate to all of these queries. This is what people come to me with day in and day out. I just hope that I've inspired you all today to at least make one small change in your skincare routine, and your summer is going to be a bright and glowing one thanks to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was truly engaging and wonderful session. We learned a lot about, and a lot of misconceptions and myths were cleared. And also to the audience, thank you so much for joining. And we had such good participation of the attendees and their engagement. And also, thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful tips. And so we can call up the day.